Okay, totally done. I'll show you two ways to do it, just in case you want to know. But the first way, luckily, has been improved a lot in the last couple updates of After Effects. So instead of going to File, Export, which you can do, I just want to show you how typically what you do. You want to add it to a render queue, and the render queue is right here. So you can do it in here if you want. In the composition drop down, you can do add to render queue. You can go to File, Export, add to render queue. So this can be really nice if you have multiple projects or multiple things that you want to get exported and compressed. You can just add them to a render queue and then hit render and walk away, and not have to babysit it. That's really nice. Again, just one more thing that makes After Effects its own animal. Here is the master composition added to the render queue. Now the output module used to be really confusing and you had to know a lot of stuff, but actually you don't really have to anymore, which is really nice. You just go to this drop down right here, the output module arrow, and just do one of these three right here, H.264 match render settings. For a 1080 video like this, 15 megabytes per second is plenty. It's great. So that's a great preset. It's going to give you a really great low file size but high quality video. And that's really it. And then you just click here. This allows you to set your output path, and it's going to call it whatever the composition name was. So just so that's why it's good to start with the composition named exactly what you want, because that's going to end up becoming what the file name is when you export. So I'm just going to put it in the exports folder. This is wherever you want to put it. I'm going to give it today's date and hit enter. And so nothing's happened yet until I hit render. So just make sure that's set to that. Make sure you have your file name set. Hit render. And now it's going to run through the spot. It's going to give you a little progress bar until it's done. Now it's done. It's now a file in a folder. So now the other way to show you, just so you know what the differences are, now that I have the render queue window selected, I can actually just, if I go find the master composition, I can just drag it into the render queue. I can also drag any composition into the render queue if I'd like to, and set output settings for them. So now that I have this added to the render queue, I can do what I just did and render it out inside of After Effects. The other way to do it is to queue it in Adobe Media Encoder. If you click that, Adobe Media Encoder starts up and you can export from there. This is if you wanted to have a specific composition rendered out as like an animated GIF or some other kind of file format, you would use Media Encoder to do that. So you can see now how the composition gets added automatically to the queue in Media Encoder, but for some reason it thinks I want to make an MP3. So if I click that MP3 file format, it'll open up a dialog box where you can get really granular about the settings that you want to do for it. There's also this downward arrow right here which gives you a bunch of presets for different file formats. This is where you can select animated GIF or anything else that you'd like to do. So yeah, this is if you want to do other things besides H.264 videos when you export. So if I was going to do an animated GIF, I would select that. You can go inside here to actually tweak the settings, which is usually what you need to do with the GIF. You can change the frame size right here, the frame rate. You can add transparency if you want. So this is where you would mess with the settings for an animated GIF. And then you click this, set your dialog box up, and hit the play button to render. So that's the other way to do it. If you wanted to have multiple things happening in a long line in a queue and just walk away, you can do it with Media Encoder as well. So those are the two ways to output your final file.